Hello, my name is Colleen, and we are going to be talking about the Microsoft program called Excel. And this is the first video. This is the intro to Excel, and I'm going to briefly talk about kind of what the program is, a little bit about what it can do, and then some various key terms and phrases that I'll use throughout the different videos, and also the terms for the different parts and so forth of the program. So, Microsoft Excel is not a program that a lot of people have used actually. Most people are familiar with the program called Word. They use it to write letters, documents, papers, etc. But Microsoft Excel is very different than Microsoft Word. It's not really meant for writing papers and so forth. It's a lot more designed for um, record keeping, calculating numbers, doing lots of automatic calculations or formatting and so forth that would be ideal for a computer to do rather than a person trying to do it all manually. For example, somebody can keep a whole list of names and 2 clicks of a button alphabetize them all. It's very easy to do that sort of thing um, in Excel. Or to calculate numbers, you can have a very large equation that uses all different kinds of numbers in it, and you can have it set up in such a way that you change one number and it'll recalculate the whole thing for you. And for any of my fellow engineering students, they would know that's a big deal. Save you lots of time. So a lot of finance majors and business people like to use Excel because it does a lot of the time-consuming part of it for them. So anyway, Excel is a very versatile program. It's not limited by space. You can see that this document here, I can scroll down and it just keeps going and going and going. You can see the numbers here on the left continuing to count. You see, it just keeps going and going. And then if you want to go to the right, you can just keep going and going, and it'll go indefinitely. So one of the nice things about Excel is that you're not limited by space in any way. So you can see here the letters just start counting by using 2 letters instead of one, and it'll just keep going. You can see it'll start using B in front of all the letters now, and then C, and then D, and etc. etc. So let's go back to the top here. Okay, so some terms that you're going to want to know. Right here, I've selected one cell, which is this one little box. Over here is a different cell. Here's another cell. All these little boxes that you see here are called cells. And it's basically just a single unit of space. And you can size the cells and do all kinds of things, but when we're referring to one specific part of the document, then they call it a cell. Now these over here, if you have a whole row of them, these are called rows, and these are numbered here on the left. So like this would be row 5. Oops, row 5. This would be row 12, row 18, etc. And then these here, going from top to bottom instead of left to right like before, these are called columns. So you can see this is column A, and this is column C, column D, etc. So see, here's D, here's column H. And if you're trying to specify a certain cell, say here in the middle of the page, this would be column K, row 12. And you can also see right here, see it says column K, row 12. It's called the name box right here. And so when I select over here, it'll automatically highlight the row and column that it is in, and you can see the name of it right here, which is helpful because this thing goes indefinitely, so you're going to have some way to specify to the computer and to somebody else where you are on your document. much like a graph paper does. So those are rows and columns, and so if you know, you'll know these are always numbers and these are always letters, and that won't change. You can't, as far as I know, change that in the document. Okay, so let's talk about your mouse. Your mouse has, usually, anyway, unless you're a gamer, it has two buttons. It has a left button, which is used for selecting. Most people are familiar with that one. And then there's the right button, which is used to get a small menu. So when you right click on the right button, you get a little drop down menu right here, and it gives you various access to quick little formatting options, etc., that are used a lot. And you can just click anywhere in the document to get rid of that menu. So like you can right click here and then click over here to make that menu go away. So when we say click on something, we typically mean left click. And then when we say right click, we mean click the right button to get that menu. Now, the version of Excel that I'm using is the 2010 version. I think they just came up with the 2013 version, which is based on the year that the program was released. It's basically the same program, but they modify it and add in new little gimmicks and so forth to it, and re-release it every few years. So this version is 2010. The previous version was 2007, and it'll look similar but a little different to this version. The biggest drastic visual change in the program is from version 2003 to 2007. A lot of it is different looking. Most of the buttons and so forth and functions of the program are still there, but they're not laid out the same. In the 2007 and 2010 version, which is the one I'm using, it has tabs up here, and it brings down all these menus. The 2003 version is slightly different, in which instead of a tab that pulls out all these little menus, it does a drop menu. Let's see if I can pull an example. Like here, it would pull down a bunch of things that you could select. So it's going to be a little different. Also, the 2007 version has right here, instead of the file button, it has a big circular button, which they call the office button. It basically does the same thing. You can click in it and it'll give you this menu. I don't know why they did that. I think they realized that was a bad idea because it's only the 2007 version. Most people got confused by it, I think, and they reverted back to a simple file button in the 2010 version. But anyway, for those of you suffering with the 2007 version, that circular button right there is actually a button. It's not just a picture. And it's called the office button. Like I was saying, these are called tabs, and this basically gives you a range of options to choose from. You can tell that they couldn't all fit them all into one little row right here, so they just made tabs for all the different kind of groups of the different buttons. And the home tab is the one that you probably use the most, at least when you're first starting out. It's the one that opens automatically when you first start the program. It's got most of your basic buttons in it. Now, whenever you have a tab, there's sections in the tab, which is basically a sub area of that tab. So, for example, in the home tab, you have the font section, and you see these little vertical lines right here separate out the different sections. And the names of the sections are down here at the bottom. So here's the home tab, right? The home tab button anyway, and here's the whole tab. And then this is the font section, which gives you a bunch of different options here for font. This is the alignment section. It has a bunch of different buttons and options here for alignment, and number section for number options, etc., etc. So that way it just makes it a little easier for you to follow whenever I'm trying to direct you to a certain button or function in the program. I'll say go to the Home tab, font section, and the underline button, for example. Also, when you hold your mouse over them and then don't move for a second, you'll see right there, it disappears when you move, but right there it'll tell you what that button is. You see this one's italic, this one is bold, makes the selected text bold, and it tells you what it does, which is kind of nice because a lot of times it's just a symbol and you're like, what is that? So it'll kind of give you a little definition. And if you really get lost in trying to figure something out, you can click right here. This is the help button, and you can click right there and type in what you're trying to look for, and the program will try and help you out. Another thing to know is that when you have an Excel document, the document itself is called a worksheet, and worksheet is basically the whole file all as a unit. Now, a worksheet can have multiple spreadsheets, and those are noted down here. This is spreadsheet 1, spreadsheet 2, spreadsheet 3, and these are separate entities from each other. So like this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, etc. And then on sheet 2, these could be A, B, C, D, etc. And you can tell when I flip through them, they're totally separate from each other. So a worksheet can have multiple spreadsheets in it. So, for example, you could have a worksheet that has all of your finance records in it, and each spreadsheet could be by year. So this could be 2012, 2013, 2009, whatever. And then you could have a separate worksheet, which would be a separate file in the computer, and you could have all your Christmas card list names in it. And you could have who you sent cards to in 2009, 2010, 2011, etc. Let's see. Oh yeah, drop down menu. Okay, that's important. So let's see. See here, right here, this has this little arrow next to the button. That shows you that there is a sub menu that you can drop down and view. So you click the arrow and it'll give you a little menu to choose from. If you want the menu to go away, you can either re-click that button or you can just click anywhere else on the page and it'll disappear for you. So for example, the insert button in the cells section of the home tab has a drop down menu, and it'll give you different options here, and if you didn't want any of those, then you just click somewhere else. And I think that covers everything. Of course, there's definitely more that we will get into in the later videos, but for now you should be pretty well oriented in the basics of Excel.